So could you tell us a little bit about your understanding of what is actually happening in China at the moment with regards to the COVID-19 situation?
Actually quite difficult to understand what's going on in China right now. It's a massive country. There are lots of controls on information. So what we're able to tell comes in bits and pieces from social media as well as the official media. There seems to be some difference between what's being reported. Social media seems to be saying that in some places there are lots of hospitalizations, there are lots of bodies at morgues and crematoria. The official media is seeming to play down the infection numbers, but of course, China is a massive country. It could possibly be the case that we have some hospitals and some morgues in some places being overwhelmed and other places that are not.
This comes at the end of many years of COVID zero in China. How prepared is the country to deal with a influx of infections?
Right. So I think what's quite surprising about China's response is that it's bought itself a lot of time. But within that time, it seems not to have gotten the vaccination rates up to the level that it's wanted. It seems not to have gotten the mRNA vaccines that seem more effective than the vaccines that China has at the moment. At the same time, the hospital beds, medical facilities don't seem to have been prepared, right, in a way that is also surprising because, as we saw earlier on in the pandemic, China was able to set up field hospitals really, really quickly. So all this seems somewhat surprising. Perhaps there's a bit of complacency on the part of the CCP. Perhaps it's some sort of miscalculation. But because the system is so opaque, it's really difficult to know.
The abandoning of strict COVID zero and the opening up of China was prompted by large scale protests, which was seen as a serious challenge to Xi Jinping's rule. Now that the country is relaxing its COVID measures, does Xi Jinping still face a challenge?
So I don't think the protest in the first instance was a challenge to Xi Jinping's rule, although there were slogans to that effect. What appears to be the case is a challenge to Xi Jinping's policy. And in the longer run, if this leads to more questioning of Xi's judgment, more doubt over Xi's leadership, that could have a challenge to his leadership. But we'll have to see that come from within the CCP, within the Chinese Communist Party, rather than the populace because of the big power asymmetry. But that's not something that's evident as yet.